Alright, y'all back with the crazy little Cajun again. So, we're still kind of taking a break from the Jaguar right now. I had to order some stuff for it and get some things ironed out before I could, completely finish going along with that. So today we got a Mazda cx5, or cx5, I believe. I think. Yeah, this one's gonna be a little cx5. And the way they design some of these things nowadays really don't make no sense to me. Right behind this big old hole in the cowl, we have the AC condenser. And the problem with this one this morning, well, the AC condenser got a hole in it. Come in, AC not working, put gauges on it, system's empty. Try to pull a vacuum on it, and it wouldn't hold a vacuum, so I knew they had a leak somewhere. So one of the easiest ways to find a leak, especially if it's a big leak, is to just go ahead and put a little gas in it. And I say gas because these days you don't know if it uses 134A, if it uses the 1234YF. They got a couple of different things out nowadays. But the way this is designed, there is nothing in here to prevent a rock from bouncing up in through here and hitting that condenser. I'm suspecting that's probably what happened because the hole is right down in here, right at the bottom of the condenser. So what I'm suspecting is a piece of road debris or a rock come up through that big ass hole in this grill, which is plumb fucking stupid to have that big old opening right there. I mean, I understand it may or may not be for airflow or whatever over the condenser, but as an engineer and a designer and a fabricator, I think I probably would have found another way to cool that, to put a fan, an air dam or something, so it's not sitting out in the wide ass open to have a rock bounce up and hit it and puncture. Way to go, engineers. Y'all about some bright dumbasses. Alright, y'all. On the first leg of the cx5, one of the first things we gotta do is we gotta drain the coolant out of the radiator because, well, we gotta turn loose some radiator hoses to be able to get this condenser up out through there. And y'all, this is one of them cars, I shit you not, they got more plastic on the bottom of this fucking thing than you could possibly imagine. Like, this is the ones that I'm talking about that is just redundant and asinine. It don't make no sense to have all of this plastic underneath here that really don't serve a whole lot of purpose. I mean, it take a job like an oil change that should take 20 minutes and turns it into a 2-hour ordeal. So, where we're gonna start today is we're gonna start pulling this plastic and we're gonna get the coolant out. And there was nothing wrong with the coolant system. And I try to save my customers as much money as I possibly can, any way I can, that's not gonna be detrimental to the job and to the cost. And this is one of them jobs where I keep a special bucket that's completely clean, and I'll save the coolant just because some of the coolant for some of these little cars is expensive. And there was nothing wrong with it. It's clean, it's in good shape, so we're gonna go ahead and save it. Alright, y'all, here we are with this cx5. I done got all the 4 layers of plastic off the bottom of the car because we had to get to the drain plug for the radiator to be able to drain the coolant enough to not have coolant spilling everywhere when we pull the top radiator hose. And so first we remove the air box right here, which is very, very simple. There's a 10mm screw here and here, and literally you undo the hose clamp and kind of finagle the snorkel off of the air box, and it just pulls off the rubbers and it comes out real easy. But then you get over here to the radiator, and once you got your fans out, which is just basically 4 10mm bolts, you undo your wires and the fans come, pull right up out of there after you disconnect the top radiator hose. But then there's a little plastic square plastic clip that goes right here. And let me see if I can catch it if it fails. Okay, so this sits on top of the radiator, rubber like this. And when you push it in, it clicks and locks into place and holds the radiator there. There's actually no bolts or screws that hold it. To get it off, there's a little tab that you push down right here. But on this one, the second I touched it and pushed down on it, because it's plastic and they make everything cheap, the little tab broke off. But I was able to get a pick in there and still unlock it, let it come on out, and we'll change that clip later on when we go back together with everything. Now, as per the procedure, it wants you to pull that bottom radiator hose too and take the whole radiator out. Me, if I ain't got to fight with pulling that bottom radiator hose off, the fewer hoses I take off, the fewer chances I have for leaks after the fact. And with the radiator pull forward like this, I mean, you can easily get, with a 1/4 inch ratchet and a 10 mil, you can get to all 4 bolts that hold the condenser to the radiator, and it will come right up out of there without having to pull that whole radiator and everything out of there completely. So that's the way I'm gonna go about doing it. So, like I said, you can get to all 4 10mm bolts on the back of this thing without having to pull that bottom hose and pull that whole radiator. For me, it's just not worth it. I don't like cooling everywhere. And it's just the fewer hoses I pull off with these pinch clamps that they use nowadays. A lot of times you run the risk of them pinch clamps not holding quite tight enough. So the fewer of them, the less of those I have to take off and break connections, the less likelihood of having a coolant leak later, you know. And there's always that chance when you're taking all of the cooling system apart. So, all right, y'all. So we got everything pretty much all back together. We got the AC gauges hooked to it right now, and what I've done is, because I've broken it open, I've gone ahead and I've vacuumed down the systems. A, to check it for leaks, and B, they say it pulls the moisture or whatever out the system. So that's what we're gonna do as per procedure. So we got that done. Now the next thing, we gotta reintroduce the coolant back into the system, and I got a nifty little gadget for that. This little deal right here, it basically has a valve that snaps to it, and you hook compressed air to it. And basically what it does is it pulls a hellacious vacuum on the entire coolant system. Then you close the valve and you pull this off, and you hook this other hose that's got its own little valve on it and open in, and you put the open in your bucket of coolant, you turn both the valves loose, and well, the vacuum on your coolant system sucks the coolant in. Not only does it suck the coolant back in, but you know, because you had it vacuum tested and it held vacuum, you know you're not gonna have any leaks in the cooling system. So that's where we're going with that right now. All right, so while I'm letting all of this stuff kind of do its own thing, because it kind of does its own thing for the most part, in the process of doing this job, I had to take a few things apart, and I got down to where the cert belt was and got a really good look at it. And when I looked at it, I noticed it's missing a whole rib off the belt. So we can't let that go like that. We got to pull the cert belt off and see what's causing that belt to get chewed up like that, because they don't wear like that, just one rib off. Let me get that focus. There's a bad pulley somewhere that's causing that to shear off just one single rib. If you can get a good look at that.